So we saw about the history of how cells developed. And what's the other girl's name who's yet to join?
Correct. Yeah.
Kavishri, right?
Yes.
Okay. We'll start until, I mean, we'll be speaking about what we saw in the last class until she joins. Okay. Will she be joining?
Huh?
Yes, Madhushri.
Hmm. You have told sentences.
Your voice is breaking, Madhushri.
Now you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you better. Yeah.
Hmm.
She will be joining. Kavishri will be joining.
I think so, ma'am.
Okay. She was there in the last class.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I guess she needs some break. Just now your class got over. Right. Okay, so we were discussing about the cell's history, who developed all these things, how did scientists know that there's something called cell, and all these stuffs we were discussing, right? So here in this case, you see, we will be today talking exclusively about the prokaryotic cell. So we studied about the cell theory. Who put forth the cell theory? You remember? Who were the
Yes,
three scientists? Yeah.
the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Sheldon, Schwann, and Virchow, right? You remember these three scientists?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here they put forth the cell theory, and they also and they gave some few postulates. So what were those postulates? They said all living organisms are made of either one or more type of cells, and it's the fundamental unit. And cells arise only from the pre-existing cells. You cannot life cannot or the cell cannot spontaneously generate. It will not generate spontaneously. It needs a pre-existing, it comes or reproduces from the pre-existing cells only. That's what they said. So we saw about each one of their inventions and stuffs like that. So we,
Friends between.
yeah, the difference between unicellular and multicellular we understood, right? So we understood like unicellular means they are single celled organisms which are capable of carrying out all the life processes. So life processes means you would have studied in the first chapter, like the respiration, metabolism, reproduction, yeah. So all these are life processes. So all the life processes could be carried out in one single cell. So that's called as a unicellular organism. So whereas in case of multicellular organisms, we saw different group of cells perform a specialized one kind of function. So there are specialized cells to perform one kind of function. For example, we have respiratory, the molecules which carry oxygen. So there is oxygen is carried out by the RBC cells in your body. We have liver cells which perform the function of detoxification and storing the fat. So we have a lot of different kinds of cell which will do, each of the cell will do one type of work. So that's called as a multicellular. So then we understood that unicellular multicellular is not as same as prokaryote and eukaryote. Yeah. So prokaryotes were the primitive type of cells that were found in early Earth, like before these were the organisms that was present when the Earth actually began. Okay. So they are very primitive type of cells. They do not have these specialized organelles inside them. So we studied the difference between the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So to define a prokaryote in a single term, what would you say? So if someone asks you what's a prokaryote, what's the difference between a prokaryote and a eukaryote, what would you say?
Well organized cell organism.
Yeah, so they do not have well developed or well organized cell organelles. So these are called as prokaryotic organisms, whereas in case of eukaryotes we would see a lot of different organelles present in these organisms, right? So then we also saw a different another type be in between the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes, right?
Mm.
So they were called as, yeah, mesokaryotes. So here they are going to be looking similar to that of eukaryotes, except for a feature that they do not have these histone proteins in them. So where are these histone proteins present? The histone proteins are proteins on which the DNA is coiled in case of eukaryotes. Yeah, you remember. I'm happy about it. Okay. So we saw about various kinds of cells. The smallest cell we saw, this is a brief about a summary about various kinds of cells. Smallest cell, the largest cell, the longest cell, and the sizes of several cells we saw. So based on the shape, based on the shape of these cells, it could be categorized. So we have plant cells, animal cells. So in plant cells we have different types of cells, and in animal cells we have different types of cells. So I briefed you about these stem cells, you remember? So
Yes.
these, yeah, so these,
So,
yes, so they are present in at the embryonic stage, I told you, right?
okay.
Yeah, so they are present during the embryonic stage, and these cells are capable of differentiating into any type of cell in your body. If you want a nerve cell, you can make it to grow as a nerve cell. If you want blood cells, you can make it to grow as a blood cell. So, like these stem cells are now preserved today to do a therapy called as stem cell therapy. So, later they store the cord blood of they store the cord blood, which will be rich in these stem cells. So when you store them later in life, when the child has a disease, so if it is a tissue type of disease, if it's because of if it's a blood cancer, or if it's a liver cirrhosis, so anything could be actually replaced. The body structure could be replaced. So in that case, the stem cells are actually stored. Then we saw these three different kinds of major kinds of cells: the bacterial cell, the animal cell, and the plant cell. So that is going to be a prokaryotic cell, and these two are examples of eukaryotic cells. So what are the common things found in these cells? We saw what are the common
Like,
things. Yeah,
like cytoplasm,
very good.
nuclear membrane,
Yeah, nucleus is there. There is the DNA is there in both three cases. Yes.
the
What else is there commonly in both of them?
nucleus,
No, I told you about they have this blue color thing called as plasma membrane. So you told me nucleus, you told me cytoplasm, and the one more thing is the plasma membrane or the cell membrane, right? Yeah, these three things are common in case of the prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. So we saw about the general characteristics of prokaryotic cells. So they do not have any membrane bound organelles. That is, you could see a lot of organelles in this case. Organelles means that's inside the cell. So organelles, so organs means our body has lot of organs. Similarly, there are going to be a lot of organelles inside these cells. So the eukaryotic cells do possess many organelles inside it, whereas the prokaryotic is simple one and do not have any organelles. So DNA is localized in a nucleoid region. Genome is one circular chromosome. It's not a linear chromosome. It is a circular chromosome. DNA is not associated with histones. We saw this. Cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan. Peptidoglycan means protein carbohydrate complex. Protein carbohydrate complex. So division is by binary fission. So we will be studying about binary fission later in this chapter. Okay, so generally small and less compared to eukaryotic cells. So the size of the prokaryotes are also going to be small because they don't contain any of these organelles, right? Yeah, Kavishri entered.
no, it is about protein and carbohydrates.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Good morning, Kavishri.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yeah. So we were just discussing about what we saw in the last class. We haven't yet started new thing today. So we were
Okay.
just discussing about the common thing between a prokaryote, eukaryote, what's unicellular, multicellular. We were discussing about that. So now we
Okay.
are just looking into the general characteristics of these prokaryotic organisms. So prokaryotic cells, no membrane-bound organelles are there. So as we see in this case, there are several membrane bound. So you could see a membrane, right? These are, I will be showing you a video. You will be able to clearly understand that. Okay. Just a second. I'll just go back. So I just was waiting for her to come. Okay. This is going to be a summary of what we saw in the last class.
There are
Okay.
types of cells in our bodies, including bone cells, cartilage cells, blood cells, muscle cells, and nerve cells. The broadest classification of cells is into two groups, eukaryotic and prokaryotic. There are a number of differences between these two types of cells. The main difference is that eukaryotic cells have a double membrane-bound nucleus.
So we would be seeing all those structures of the eukaryotes in the next few sessions. Okay, let us go back. I mean, we'll be the last class, what we discussed in the last class, like the membrane-bound organelles, all will be there here.
Including bone cells, blood cells, muscle cells, and nerve cells. The broadest classification of cells is into two groups, eukaryotic and prokaryotic. There are a number of differences between these two types of cells. The main difference is that eukaryotic cells have a double membrane-bound nucleus, which contains the cell's DNA. Prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus, only a nucleoid, which is the central open part of the cell where the DNA is found. Eukaryotic cells also have other large, complex, membrane-bound organelles.
Yeah, so that was the point I just wanted to show you, like these prokaryotic organisms do not have any membrane bound organelles. You could see there, right? The DNA was just found in the center of the organism. It was not compressed in any specialized surfaces, whereas the eukaryotic DNA was found inside the nucleus. So that's the major difference between a prokaryotic and a eukaryotic cell. Right. So today's class, we'll be discussing the exclusive structure of these prokaryotic cell organelles. So there are going to be organelles inside the prokaryotes also. So we will be discussing about what are the different organelles in the prokaryotic cells. Okay. So we'll be discussing about these 7 different types of organelles today. Right. So the first thing we're going to see is the cell envelope. So envelope means it's just going to be a covering. Okay, so this cell envelope is actually is going to have 3 different layers in them. So we are now focusing on prokaryotic cells. So in prokaryotic cells, we're going to study its structure. So prokaryotes are primitive cells, so they don't have any membrane bound complexes. They were present on the early earth. So prokaryotes are, we do have these bacteria, but they were the ones that occupied the earth a long time back. They were the first organisms to occupy the planet Earth. So their cells are going to be very simple. They're not as complex as the ones that developed after the evolution. Okay, so we are discussing about prokaryotic cells. We're going to discuss its structure. So we'll be discussing about 7 different organelles of these prokaryotes. So the first organelle we are going to discuss is the cell envelope. So cell envelope means the outer covering. So there are going to be a lot of stuffs inside it. Envelope means outer covering. So it is a it is a complex protective, chemically complex protective covering. It's made up of several chemicals. So it has got, we already discussed, right? So the carbohydrate and protein complex. So peptidoglycan, I just told you in the last slide. So all these things are chemical substances. So they are organic chemical substances like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and all these things. So they are chemically complex and protective covering. So what's going to be the cell envelope's function is that they just be going to protect all the organelles that's present inside the bacteria. Okay, so this cell envelope is again made up of 3 different layers. The outermost one is going to be called as glycocalyx. Glyco itself mean it is made up of something related to carbohydrates. Okay, it is related to carbohydrates. So it's made up of 3 layers. The first layer is going to be glycocalyx. glycocalyx. Okay, so this glycocalyx we'll just discuss. So it's more as the outermost layer, and its composition and thickness will vary among different bacteria. So we'll be discussing about that. So how its major function is to protect the bacteria, and it's going to be the outermost layer. So it is again further classified into two things. So this glycocalyx may be loosely sheet-like structure or tightly bound structure. So it can be of two types again. So we are studying about cell envelope, which is having three different layers in it. So here they are made up of three different layers: the glycocalyx, the cell wall, and the plasma membrane. So the first thing we will be discussing is this glycocalyx. So glycocalyx is the outermost layer, and its composition and the thickness. So it might be made of different substances, and its thickness also. So it can be thick in one case, it can be very thin and a sheety like substance in other cases. So it differs from different bacteria. So all the bacteria is going to process these things, and it's going to be different in different bacteria. So generally they are made up of two different layers. So it may be a slime layer. Slime layer means it is a loose sheet-like structure. Slime means for example, if you want to understand this, so have you just left, for example, if we leave some of our mugs or buckets left in water for a very long time, you could see a small slippery substances grown in the base of the buckets or tubs or even waters. So wherever water is there, and after you leave it for a long time, you could see some slimy layer being produced. So that's because the bacteria that were present in the water had grown there, utilizing the minerals that's in the water. So that I want to just let you know what's a slimy layer. So slimy means it's kind of going to be very slippery. Okay, it's going to be slippery like the mucus. So that's called a slimy layer. If the bacteria's outer covering is like this, which is a loose sheet-like structure, then it's going to be called as a slimy layer or slime layer. Or it can be like a capsule. So this is a structure. This is how the slimy layer will look. It's going to be loosely bound, and it's going to be like a jelly-like thing, which you can think which might fall at any time. So it's like that. Okay. So this slime layer is a loose sheet, and capsule is a thick sheet. So glycocalyx can be of two types: the slime layer and the capsule. So this is the slime layer structure. You can see like it's a jelly like covering, which is covering that of your bacteria. So slime layer is loosely adherent, non-uniform in density and thickness. So it's not even everywhere. It's not even everywhere. It can be so I'll just show another picture. So you can see here. So it's like this. So it can be dense at one region, and it can be thin at one region. So this slime layer doesn't give any proper covering to the, I mean, it's not uniformly covering. It's not uniformly covering the bacteria. Okay. Whereas the capsule layer is a condensed layer, closely surrounds the bacterium. Whereas this layer is going to tightly protect the bacteria. The capsule layer is going to tightly protect the bacteria. So slime layer or capsule layer might be also called as glycocalyx. They might not actually differentiate and tell. They may just generally call it as a glycocalyx. So if you see in glycocalyx, it's of two types: the capsule and the slime. So the difference between these things are the how it is covering. If they are loosely packed and it's like a jelly-like substance, then it's called as a slime layer, and it is non-uniformly dense. So they are not present evenly. So you could see from this picture. So you can see here it is not even present, whereas in the other regions it's present. It's going to be actually moving. It's going to be, since it is kind of loosely packed, right? So it will be flowing all the time. So that's why it is called a slime layer. Okay, whereas capsule, you can see they are rigid coat-like structures. They are uniform, and it resembles the capsule. You know, you have seen a tablet, no? Capsule-like tablets we would have seen. So it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like that. So that's called as a capsule. So what are the functions of these glycocalyx? So they are going to actually protect the bacteria and also helps in sticking these bacteria to surfaces. Okay, so that's going to be two two major functions. One is going to be they help to stick the bacteria to the food, like for example, if you have a sore throat, the bacteria, this layer can help the bacteria to come and stick onto your throat surface. So that's how they actually come and adhere to the cells of your throat. So this helps in adhering and also helps in protecting the bacteria from severe harsh environments. So, so our body's immune system is so good, so it can eliminate these bacteria, but these layers do protect them and help them to go attach to that surface and cause the disease. Okay, so slime layer is a loose sugar network, easy, it can be easily removed, whereas the tight layer or the rigid or the capsule layer is a tight layer of mosaic tiles made of many identical particles. So it's going to be really, it's going to look same everywhere, and it's going to be a mosaic like structure, a small mosaic like structures, and that's called as a capsule. So it's enough if you understand it's a rigid coat, whereas it is a slimy jelly like layer. Okay, so again the functions. So this slimy layer actually helps the bacteria getting drying out. So because it's a jelly like substance, it will not allow the water to flow out, and it will not make the evaporation process, like it will not absorb all the water. So if a bacteria is put under a harsh environment, this slimy layer can prevent the bacteria from getting dried off. Or if it is if there is no nutrition at all, if there is no nutrients at all in in an area where the bacteria is there, it can also be still alive because of this sticky protection or the slime layer. Okay, so and it also helps in loss of nutrition out of the cell. Okay, it helps to stick to surfaces. That's what I told you, since it's of slimy nature, it helps to stick these bacteria to certain regions where they want to go and bite. Okay, so that's the function of slime layer. Whereas when it comes to the capsule layer, it's a molecular sieve, and it protects against virus adherence. So you know, viruses can attack the bacteria also. So there are a lot of viruses that attack the bacteria, they're called as bacteriophages. So virus that attacks the bacteria is called as bacteriophages. So this slime layer can protect, so that's going to be whereas the sticky, this slime layer is going to make the bacteria to infect us, whereas the capsule layer is going to protect the bacteria from getting infected by the viruses. Okay, so it's a molecular sieve. So you can see they have small pore like structures which is identical, and it is a molecular sieve. So something has to enter through it, right? So nutrients have to enter, all these things have to enter. So they will actually allow only a few substance to enter them. So if it's in a if a bacteria is in a capsule, if it has a capsule coat, then it can prevent it from being attacked by viruses because it also serves as a molecular sieve. So protection against virus adherence and immune evasions. So that's what. So as I told you, this capsule layer is going to be a protection for the bacteria themselves. Okay, so we are studying about the cell envelope. The cell envelope has three layers: the glycocalyx, cell wall, and the plasma membrane. The first thing we saw was glycocalyx, which is the outermost layer, and here the thickness and the composition may vary, we saw. So the glycocalyx, depending on what is that, the function varies actually. So this is the structure. The function depends on what type of layer they have. So it can be of two types: the slime layer or the capsule layer. So this slime layer is like a jelly-like substance that's covering the bacteria, and it is non-uniformly thick and non-uniformly dense, and thickness is also non-uniform here. Okay, so whereas in case of capsules, they are closely surrounding the bacteria, and it is a proper it is a condensed layer. It has similar identical molecules throughout the structure. So what are its functions? So depending on what molecule, what type of substance is there, the function varies. So if it's a sticky layer, then if it's a slime layer, then it's going to help the bacteria to adhere to surfaces, okay, to stick to surfaces, and also it prevents the bacteria from getting dried off, and and also it prevents the bacteria to lose, to help the bacteria not to lose the nutrients during harsh environments or during the starving conditions. It'll help these bacteria. So whereas if it's a rigid coat or the capsule layer, it's gonna help the bacteria to be to be attacked, to prevent the bacteria to be attacked by the viruses. So the virus that infects the bacteria are called as bacteriophages. So actually you see these bacteriophages are going to have this structure like this, a head-like structure and a tail-like structure. So usually these tail-like structures will come and sit on top of these bacteria. So if this layer is present, it will not allow the phages, the viruses, to come and attack the bacteria. So that's the importance of the capsule layer. Yes. So we are going to see the next layer of the cell envelope. Okay. So cell envelope, second layer is the cell wall. So we know already what's a cell wall, right? So plants also do have cell wall, and here bacteria also do have cell wall. So it's the middle layer. So outermost is your glycocalyx, and the next layer is going to be your cell wall. So it is seen, these kind of cell wall is seen exclusively in prokaryotes. And also, yes, the plant cells do have cell wall, but this kind of cell wall, the material what cell wall here is made of, is seen exclusively only in case of the prokaryotes. So what is the function? So it has only generally one function to do. So what function is that? Is it provides the shape to the cell. So it gives a definite shape to the bacteria. So amoebas are irregularly shaped, right? So they don't have a proper structure. But whereas the bacteria, so have you studied about amoeba? Have you seen an
Yes.
amoeba? Yeah, it has finger-like elongations everywhere, which forms an irregular structure of the body. But whereas in case of these these bacteria, you see. So in case of bacteria, you see the prokaryotes have a definite shape. The cell wall gives them a definite shape actually. So it gives a shape to the cell and provides structural support to the bacteria, which helps them from bursting or collapsing. So you see, during harsh environments, if I say harsh, we are adding some disinfectants. Like if you have a sore throat or if you have some bacterial infection, the doctor prescribes you certain antibiotics, right? So the antibiotics will go and start killing these bacteria. So during that time, during that harsh environment, the cell wall actually helps the bacteria to retain them. But still, we take a lot of antibiotics and we kill them finally, and we get rid out of the infection. But still, at initial stage, what happens is that the cell wall helps the bacteria to become to burst or collapse. So when will this bursting or collapsing happen? So you know, like the molecules. So if these bacteria is put up, so you would have read about three different conditions of cells: the hypertonic, hypotonic, and isotonic. Have you?
No.
No. Okay. So if you are generally immersing, there is a cell. So if there is a cell like this, and you immerse the cell into a region where you have a lot of sugar molecules. So the environment is containing not sugar. Generally, it has a lot of nutrients there. So what will happen is the molecules from here will start moving towards inside of the cell. So do you know what process is this? The movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Do you know what it is? Osmosis is not solute. It is the water molecule moving. So what will happen if the nutrients are moving from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration? Osmosis,
Diffusion.
Very good. Yeah, it is the diffusion. So because bacteria, if they're put up in a new environment, what will happen is they know there are a lot of nutrients here. What they will do actually is they'll try to take in all the nutrients. So if there are a lot of water and lot of nutrients inside the cell can sometimes burst. So this cell wall actually prevents that bursting. And similarly, the cell wall, I mean, the bacterial cell can also collapse when, because the external environment does not have any nutrients. What will happen now, this inside the bacteria, the nutrients are going to be high. So always the molecules try to, generally the chemical molecules will generally try to move from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. That's the basic principle in chemistry, right? So what will happen now, the concentration inside the cell is really high. So they will try to move out, and almost everything of the cell's water content, all these things will move. But still, the cell will not lose its shape. Why? Because of the presence of the cell wall. If cell wall is not there, what will happen? It will try to collapse. It'll try to collapse, and it will shrink off. So that, to prevent that, we have the cell wall. Okay. Yeah, so it is a middle layer seen in all prokaryotes. It gives shape to the cell and provides structural support to prevent bacteria from getting either collapsed or bursting. Okay. So this is the structure of a cell wall. So this is the structure of a cell wall. Okay, so this is how it will look. So you can see there are a lot of head-like structures, right? So oh, this is cell membrane. I didn't put just picture of a cell wall. Actually, cell wall should be here outside. Okay, so I haven't put the picture, but that's okay. So this is the second structure called the cell wall. So cell wall prevents the bacteria from getting collapsed or bursting. So understood, that's the second layer. So we are studying about the cell's envelope. We saw the first layer called the glycocalyx. Now the second layer we have completed is the cell wall, right? So the third structure, okay, now we'll have one more discussion here. So leave this part. This is actually misplaced here. Okay, so based on the chemical composition of the cell wall, so bacteria has a cell wall. So based on that chemical composition, there can be it is again divided into two types. Okay, that's again divided into two types. What are they? They are the gram positive bacteria and gram negative bacteria. So how did they get this name gram? Where did it come from? So this person called Christian Gram actually developed a technique. He developed a technique to identify the different types of cell wall in case of your bacteria. So he actually used certain colored dyes or stains. So here it's going to be called as a stain. So it's called as a staining technique. It's called as a staining technique. Based on the types of cell envelopes and respond to gram staining, bacteria are of two types. Generally, the cell wall, based on different types of cell wall, it's categorized into gram positive and gram negative bacteria. So who developed it? The scientist called as Christian Gram developed this technique. Okay, so here you could see certain bacteria a kind of pinkish color. So this is not this, it will not look like this color. I'll just show you. So this is the microscopic view of these bacteria. Okay, so if it's a gram positive bacteria, so this is really important. Kindly concentrate, students. So if it's a gram positive bacteria, it will be purplish in color. It's going to be violet or purplish in color. Why? Because the person Gram used certain stains which looked, so he took two stains. The one was purple and violet in color. It's called as a crystal violet. It is called as crystal violet. Another was saffronin, which was orangish in color, which it's called as a saffronin. So he used these two stains, the crystal violet and saffronin. So what he did was he just took some bacteria under a glass slide. So you know what's a glass slide is? have you seen under microscopes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he took some bacteria and he just kept on that and he dried them. So what he did do was next added the crystal violet initially. So what happened? Certain bacteria in that region absorbed these violet color dyes. Okay, they absorbed the violet color dyes. And what he did do, he wanted to remove the excess amount of dye, so he added alcohol now. So since you add the alcohol, it will get washed away. The bacterial excess stains will get washed away. How we remove a nail polish, no? Similarly, the excess stains will get washed away. So now next he added the saffron and dye, okay, which is the orange one. So what happened? A few more things which were not stained previously, now became orangish pink in color. Okay, it might look orange or it might look pink based on the microscopes that we use. Okay, so usually pinkish in color. So what he concluded was that there must be two different cell wall. Okay, there must be two different cell wall. So the one which took the crystal violet, which is violet in color, next did not absorb the saffron, and it did not give a combination of these two colors, whereas the organisms which did not take the crystal violet next took the saffron. And can you see the picture? So you can see several ones are pinkish color and several are purple in color, right? So the ones that took the purple dye or violet dye did not take up the orange dye. The ones that did not take the purple dye took up the orange dye. So this is how he developed this technique. So he just wanted to study why this difference is happening. So when he studied about, when he took into the details of the structure, he saw that gram-positive bacteria. So so here you can see the gram-positive bacteria here. So this gram-positive bacteria, both gram-positive and gram-negative. So here is the cell membrane. So on top of the cell membrane, you have the cell wall. Okay, the cell wall in case of gram-positive and gram-negative is going to have the peptidoglycan. We were discussing, right? So we were discussing about the cell wall is made of peptidoglycan. Both of them are going to have the peptidoglycans in them. Whereas the gram-positive only will have peptidoglycan, whereas the gram-negative will have peptidoglycan. It will be compressed into a small one layer and it will have one more layer on top of it. Okay, but that's why this purple dye is not. So this purple dye is not capable of being absorbed. There's one more layer here. So it's not absorbing that. Whereas the saffronin has ability to be absorbed here. That's different story. Leave it. So both of these bacteria are made of peptidoglycan only. But in case of gram-negative bacteria, the peptidoglycan layer is shrinked. The peptidoglycan layer is becoming smaller, and where on top of it there is another layer called lipoprotein, which is a combination of lipid and protein, whereas peptidoglycan is
Protein and carbohydrate.
very good. So it is a combination of protein and carbohydrates. Lipoprotein means lipid and protein. So it has one more extra layer here. So that's why it was not able to absorb the purple dye. Okay, so he later only thought about the saffronin. Initially he didn't know. So the ones which took the dye, he named it as positive. Ones which didn't take the dye, he named it as negative. Then only he thought like maybe another dye will be capable of dyeing it, and so then he developed it. So the name was finalized, so he didn't change it. So gram negative means it has a lipopolysaccharide layer. Now we have to combine these two terms. So protein is there in both, right? Protein is there in both. Peptido means protein. Here also protein is there. So now we call this layer as lipopolysaccharide layer. Lipopolysaccharide means lipid and carbohydrate together. It has a lipopolysaccharide layer. So it has peptidoglycan plus lipoprotein. Now, so it's called as a lipopolysaccharide layer. Okay. Whereas in case of gram positive, it only has the peptidoglycan layer. So this peptidoglycan layer in turn has some acids, lipoic acid, teichoic acid, and certain surface proteins. That's not really necessary for you. If you are if you are asked, you will be asked to name these. You will be asked to label these things. So in that case, you will have to know what there are, what are there. So there are two types of acids here. One is the teichoic acid, and the other one is the liptoteichoic acid. Okay, there are two kinds of acids. So it's not necessary that you have to really mug up all these terminologies. It's not like that. Just you might be asked in an objective type question, name the protein that is present. So just by seeing the structure, you will just have to know what they are. That's it. So then you have some proteins embedded somewhere. These are called as surface proteins. Okay. So whereas in gram-negative bacteria, you have an extra lipoprotein layer. So how to remember this? Which has what? So there's a mnemonic. There's an interesting mnemonic here. Okay. So if it's a gram-negative bacteria, it's enough if you remember the term long. Okay. Long means lipopolysaccharide, outer membrane, negative gram. So you have to study like this. Gram-negative, outer membrane, lipopolysaccharide. Okay. So which organism has what cell wall? If you want to remember that, remember these two mnemonics, the long and PPT. Okay, long stands for lipopolysaccharide, outer membrane, negative gram. So gram-negative bacteria has an outer membrane which is comprised of lipopolysaccharide, whereas the positive are positive peptidoglycan, teichoic acid. So they have a positive layer. The gram-positive bacteria has a peptidoglycan layer which has the teichoic acid. That's it. Okay. So this is how you remember. So it's enough you know this teichoic acid alone. So lipoteichoic acid means along with lipid. That's it. The teichoic acid is only important here. So gram-positive bacteria has a brief or a big peptidoglycan layer, whereas the negative has a short peptidoglycan layer, and on top of it, it has another layer called as a lipoprotein layer. So these are combined together and are called as a lipopolysaccharide. So this is how you remember. Remember these two terms, long and PPT. Long means gram-negative outer wall polysaccharide. Positive means, PPT means positive peptidoglycan is teichoic acid. It has a peptidoglycan layer which has teichoic acid. Okay, is it clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is a picture showing both gram positive and gram negative. So what shape is this? What shape is this? We studied about certain shapes, right?
Spherical, ma'am.
Spherical is this. So didn't we study about the shapes? I thought you're right. In the first class, last class we saw, no? This one?
No, ma'am.
We didn't see the structures?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We only saw till this. Oh, what?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So bacterial shapes may differ. So that's okay. No, it's okay. Wherever you study, it's going to be the same. So bacteria can be categorized based on their shapes they have. So if it's a round spherical structure, it's called as a coccus. It's called as a coccus. Yeah. And if it's a thread-like or a rod-like structure, it's called as a bacillus. It's called as a bacillus. Are you speaking? Okay. So if it's of this spherical form, if it's a curved like this, if it's a spring-shaped structure, then it's called as a spirella. Okay. Okay. So then we have these comma-shaped bacteria called as vibrios. Okay. They are comma-shaped. Like they have these hook-shaped structures. So they're called as vibrios. Okay, so there is an in-between state now. It can be a cocci shape or it can be a bacilli shape. So they are called as coccobacilli. They are called as coccobacilli. You cannot tell, right? This is like this also. This is like a coccus also. This is like a bacillus also. So that intermediate in-between shape is called as a coccobacilli. Okay, so then this coccus bacteria, so these all the other bacteria can form chains, or these are all living singly only. They can form groups, but they don't join to form new structures. Whereas this coccus bacteria is there, right? They can live singly also, they can exist singly also, they can exist as pairs. So two bacteria can join together to form a diplococci. If two is joined together, they form diplococci. If four is joined together, it forms as tetracocci, tetrads. It's called as tetrads. Okay, so if the cocci are arranged in chains, if the cocci are arranged in chains, they're called as streptococci. Strep means chains. If they are present in groups, if it looks like a bunch of grapes, then it's called as staphylococci or micrococci. So I'll just explain it back, don't worry. So cocci is a spherical shape. Bacilli is a rod or a thread-like structure, whereas this curved forms, the comma shape, the hook shape structures are there. So the comma shaped ones are called as vibrios, which causes the disease called as vibrio, which causes the disease called cholera. Okay, Vibrio cholerae is the bacteria which causes the cholera disease. Then we have the spirella or spirochetes. The difference between spirella and spirochetes is that the spirellas will have flagella on them. We'll study about flagella later. Okay, so whereas when it comes to coccus, so when it comes to the coccus, it is going to show several arrangements here. So if it is singly existing, it's just a coccus. If there are two cocci joined together, it forms a diplococcus. If same two is there, but it is in an elongated form, so they form a coffee bean like structure. Okay, coffee bean like structure is formed, then it is called as here it's a coffee bean shape in pair. So example is called it's an Neisseria. Okay, then it exists in tetrads, four things joined together to form tetrads. And you have chain like structures. Okay, they form chain like structures, it's called as a streptococci. When it forms a branch like structure as of a grape, then it's called as a micrococci or a staphylococci. That's it. So this is about various shapes of a bacteria. Okay, I thought we discussed that in the last class itself. So here they just want to ask you, what shape does it look like? It looks like a rod.
Cocci bacillus.
Yeah, so this is bacilli. The rod shape one are bacilli, and these spherical shape are cocci. Okay, so they are existing as chains. Can you see the chain here? Can you see the
Yes,
chain
ma'am.
here? So it's a streptococci. You can call them as a streptococci. Okay, so this is what positive or what cell wall they have. So they are orangish in color. Now what can you say them? Is it gram positive or
Ma'am,
gram negative?
positive. Positive, ma'am.
Gram pinkish colors are gram negative.
Negative.
Okay,
Yes.
the purplish
Okay.
ones are gram positive. Purple is gram positive, pink is
Okay.
gram negative. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
so if I want to tell what bacteria is it, I generally tell it as a rod shaped gram what?
Negative.
Very good. It's a gram negative rod bacteria or a gram negative bacilli. I can call it as a gram negative bacilli. And here it is
Gram
a
negative. Base.
gram negative bacilli. So if it's a rod shaped structure like this, and it is it is orangish in color. So I call it as a gram negative bacilli. Okay. So here it is purple in color and it is of a spherical shape. So how do you say them?
Ma'am, gram positive cocci.
Very good. So they are called as a gram positive cocci. Good. So this is how you explain a bacteria. Okay. So this is how you morphologically identify them. Now we are moving to the third layer. Okay. We are moving to the third layer, and it is the innermost layer that's going to be very close to the other organelles which is inside the bacteria. So this plasma membrane is the innermost layer. It is semi-permeable in nature. We would have studied this term from a very long time. Cell membrane, semi-permeable in nature, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
what is that? What does that mean? What are this? What semi-permeable means? What?
Ma'am, partially not.
Yeah, so it's not going to make everyone enter the cell. So it's going to be a very strict person who's telling don't come inside, go out, or you come inside. It's going to look like he's going to be a very he's going to be like a PT master who says do this, do that, and all these things. It's going to be very strict, and it's going to be very semi-permeable. It's not going to allow everybody to come inside. Okay, so it is semi-permeable or selectively permeable. It will not allow every molecule to enter inside. And there are going to be a lot of things in this plasma membrane that will tell who can come in and who can move out. Okay, so this is the innermost layer. So a molecule can pass to other layers, but when it comes to the plasma membrane, if the plasma membrane does not allow it, it will have to go back go back to the environment itself. So this is called as a plasma membrane. It is the innermost layer. It is semi-permeable in nature and interacts with the outside. So this is the one that interacts with the external environment. Who can come, who can go, how the environment looks, what can be taken up from the environment. All these things will be decided by the plasma membrane. Okay, this structure is similar to that of eukaryotes. Even eukaryotes have the same membrane, which is selectively permeable in nature. Okay. So we have completed cell envelope. So we are studying about the structure of prokaryotic organisms. So the prokaryotic organisms have have total of 7 different organelles, and the first organelle we are studying about is cell envelope. So in cell envelope, it has 3 layers: the glycocalyx, the cell wall, and the cell or the plasma membrane. Right? So glycocalyx can be again of 2 types. What are they?
Slime,
Yes, and
leg, and capsule.
very good. So slime and capsule. So depending on what layer they have, it performs different functions.
Ma'am, voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking.
No, ma'am. Ma'am, for me it is breaking.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Just a second. My internet is.
Yes,
my
ma'am. I can hear you.
Okay. Maybe Kavishri,
Sometimes it is breaking, ma'am.
even your voice is breaking, Kavishri.
Ma'am, here also tower is full, ma'am.
Okay, now I can hear you
What
clearly.
issue it?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, can you hear me now? So the plasma membrane,
Yes,
the plasma we saw 3 different layers, and now we are speaking about the second thing called the cell wall, right?
Okay.
Cell wall again can be of 2 types. So I asked you about the second layer of glycocalyx, Kavishri. So she said me one as slime layer. What's the other one?
Capsule, ma'am.
Very good. Okay. So in case of cell wall, it is of again 2 types based on the staining technique developed by the scientist called.
Christian Graham.
Very good. So Christian Graham developed this technique. So what's the difference there? What layer does the gram positive bacteria have in excess?
Ma'am, you asking color, ma'am? Color of that bacteria?
No. What layer? What's the chemical layer that's there in the gram positive bacteria?
Chemical layer.
Yeah.
Ma'am, peptidoglycan.
Peptidoglycan peptidoglycan is going to be there in both bacteria. See students, look at this picture. Both of you look at the picture. So peptidoglycan is here also. But the peptidoglycan is brief. It's kind of big here. Whereas in this case, the peptidoglycan layer has been shrunk, and on top of it, it has another layer made of lipoproteins. It has another layer made of lipoproteins. Right, so you should understand both of them have the peptidoglycan layer, whereas the lipoprotein layer is excess in gram-negative bacteria. So what did I ask? Is there an excess? So what's the excess layer in gram-positive bacteria? So you should have told me that there is no excess layer in gram-positive bacteria, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you can be asked some tricky questions like this also. So so how do you name bacteria based on their shape? If it's a spherical shape, what do you call them?
Cocci, ma'am.
Cocci. If it's rod shaped, Kavishri?
Bacilli, ma'am.
Very good. So if cocci present as chains, it is called as? Okay, no issues. It's called as a streptococci. Strep. Okay.
Streptococci, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So we studied about the third and the last layer called the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. So the major function of this layer, so other two layers we saw several functions. That's going to provide strength. The cell wall is going to give the structure, whereas the capsule is going to be protective in function. Whereas coming to cell membrane, they are selectively permeable or semi-permeable in nature, which interacts with the external environment, which is the one that would decide what can get in and what can move out, right? So we have completed cell
Yes, ma'am.
envelope as of now. We have completed the cell envelope as of now. So we are moving to the next structure, the next organelle called as mesosomes. So we are moving to the next organelle called as mesosomes. So mesosomes is a new structure here. I just show you. So you can see a structure. There's some inside. There's a flask-like structure. Can you see? It's a flask-shaped structure here. So these are infoldings of the plasma membrane. So we saw plasma membrane here, right? So when the plasma membrane folds internally, when they fold internally, they form something called as mesosomes. They form something called as mesosomes. So it is formed by infolding of plasma membrane. It is formed by infolding of plasma membrane. It includes vesicles, tubules and lamellae. Don't worry, I will just explain. So this is the cell wall and you have the plasma membrane here. This plasma membrane is now folded inwardsly. It is folded inwardly now as it forms a flask shaped structure. So this can have a lot of tubules in it. So it includes vesicles, tubules and lamellae. So tubules are these structures. Vesicles are just a sac-like structure only. So they'll have all these things. So this is called as a mesosome sac, or this can be called as a mesosome vesicle. So they are formed here. So I have just zoomed up the picture here. You can see there are infoldings. You could see, right? So it should be infolded. It should not be folded outside. It should be folded inside. So this is called as a mesosome. So they are plasma membranes infoldings. They will include tubules, lamellae and vesicles. Okay. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you have any doubt? I find some.
Ma'am, lamellae, ma'am.
You want to know what's a lamellae?
Yes, ma'am.
No, they are similar structures. So it's gonna be a thread-like. If it's a sac-like structure, then it's a tubule or vesicle. If it's a thread-like structure, it's a lamellae. That's it.
Plasma membrane include vesicles, tubules, and lamellae, ma'am.
No. Don't leave plasma membrane away. Don't think about plasma membrane at all here. So plasma membrane does not have any function to do. This plasma membrane, when it is folded inwardly, you can see here. You can see here, right? This plasma membrane is different. When it's
Yes,
folding
ma'am.
inwards, it forms this sac-like structure. This sac-like structure together is called as a mesosome. This mesosome can be in of three
Okay.
forms. It can form the tubules. You can see tubules here, small, small dot, like I mean, a sac-like structure. I mean, not sac-like,
Spherical
a
structure.
spherical structure. Okay, so these are called as tubules, whereas the whole thing is called as a mesosome sac or a mesosome vesicle. Okay, whereas lamellae is going to be the outer layer or the thread-like structure present here is called the lamellae. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, right. So this is the second membrane. So this is going to be a membranous structure. Can you tell me why? So they have no membrane bound organelles. That is the important character of a prokaryote. Why they have mentioned it here as membranous structures? Why so?
Because they don't have a membrane.
Membranous means membrane is there, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so generally, so coming to your first slide where we saw the general characteristics of the prokaryotes. You remember this slide? So here we saw they have no membrane bound organelles, no membrane envelope circled organelles. Why they have mentioned that here, but here in this slide they have mentioned it as a membranous structure. Why? What forms the mesosome?
Don't know, ma'am.
What forms the mesosome?
Infolding of plasma.
Yeah, plasma
Ma'am,
membrane, right?
membrane.
Yeah. So that's why it's called as a membranous structure, right? It is a membrane. So it forms, it's membrane means, yeah, we'll just see a video. So it's going to be a covering like thing called as a membrane. So that this is a similar structure which has the membrane in it. It's going to form a flask-like structure which is through the plasma membrane. So it's called as a membranous structure. So what are its function? It has major functions, you can see. So for the cell wall formation, so if the cell membrane is kind of slimy, it's kind of it is kind of full circle, no, there'll not be any region for the cell wall to form. So if a cell wall has to form, it should have some region where it can go and adhere. So here you can see if the whole layer is like this, it's not going to be easy for the cell wall to form. It needs to go and bind somewhere, so it can start binding here and it can form the cell wall. So it's used for the cell wall. The function of this is for cell wall formation. Okay.
Okay,
And for
ma'am.
DNA replication. So how do you think these bacteria actually multiply? We saw one process through which they multiply, right?
Ma'am, can you repeat once more?
So how do bacteria reproduce or multiply? Okay, how do they do? Did we study about binary fission?
Yes, ma'am.
In the first slide, again in the prokaryotic slide, I told no, one mother cell will produce two daughter cells. So from the mother cell, two daughters will be produced. That is, this mother cell will break into two to form two daughter cells. That's called as a binary fission. So here, what should happen? The contents inside the cell, all the contents inside the cell should be doubled. Okay, should be doubled. The mother should give everything equally, should split everything equally. In that case, every organelle inside the bacteria should double. So for example, one copy of DNA is there and one more copy should form. One copy of plasmid is there, another copy should form. There are 3 different ribosomes, again 6 things should form. It should double, actually it should double. So it has to copy itself one more time. So that's why this mesosomes also, so that's called as binary, I mean that's called as replication, that's called as multiplication of bacteria. So bacteria do a very simple form of reproduction. They reproduce by just dividing their cell into two to form two daughter cells. So this 2 will form 4, 4 will form 8, 8 will form 16, so like that it's going to be going like this. So for the DNA replication, this mesosomes actually help. So how they help is different. So that's not really essential for you, but for the DNA replication, they help. For the distribution of chromosomes to daughter cells. So as I told you, DNA is going to double itself one more time. So it's going to form one more copy of DNA, one more copy of plasmid, one more copy of ribosomes, everything will double. So now this mesosome will lie at a plane where things can actually separate themselves. So one copy of DNA will move one side, another one will move one side. And that's how during binary fission, if the cell splits into two half also, both the daughter cells will have all the contents in equal. This mesosome actually helps to divide the cell into two actually. This helps the cell to divide into two where the contents are also equally splitted. Got it? Is there any confusion? No, if you have
No,
any
ma'am.
confusion, yeah, okay. So for respiration and secretion, so respiration means, what does respiration mean?
Inhaling of oxygen
Inhaling and exhaling.
So that is so as biologists we should actually remember respiration and inhalation, exhalation, that is breathing is different. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Respiration means uptake of the oxygen. So we have inhaled oxygen, that is exchange of gas. Okay, that is ventilation. That's not respiration. That's called as a ventilation. Ventilation means exchange of gases. We take in oxygen, we leave out carbon dioxide. Every living organism on earth, right from the bacteria to the complex structures like human, do need oxygen for their cellular respiration. So cellular respiration means production of energy. So respiration is nothing but energy production. Okay, formation of ATPs. Very good. So cellular respiration means production of energy. So for producing energy, you exclusively need oxygen molecule along with glucose molecule. So we'll be studying in detail about how the ATPs are being produced. Okay, so in later classes we'll be studying. So for that, these mesosomes do help in getting the oxygen molecule into the cell or getting the glucose molecule into the cell. For all these things, actually the mesosome helps. So to produce energy, you need two molecules exclusively, the nutrient and the and the oxygen. Okay, so if they both are there, then those cells can produce the energy molecule called ATPs. Okay, so this mesosome helps in doing that. Respiration. Secretion means, so how do bacteria actually take their food? How do bacteria take food?
Ma'am, through soda podium.
That is amoeba.
Amoeba.
Yeah. Bacteria are not going to engulf food, right? They're going to just absorb it. Okay. There's going to be a lot of molecule in the environment. If you put these bacteria, I told you not diffusion process. Why did we study diffusion before it? So through diffusion, everything will enter into the cell. Whatever is needed, what the plasma membrane allows, things will enter into the cell. So now there is a complex. So you leave the bacteria, you take a bacteria and put it on top of a tomato, let us assume. So bacteria cannot absorb what's there in the tomato like that. So what they do is they secrete certain enzymes to break down the compounds. So we use our mouth, right? We use our mouth, and mouth has saliva, saliva has enzymes. So similarly, these secretions will have certain enzymes which can break the complex food into a simpler one that bacteria can take. So what they'll do is they secrete some enzymes. So secretions are nothing but these enzymes. They will be stored in the mesosomes so that they can be secreted whenever it's necessary, right? So they help in, they'll not be stored, they'll be inside the cell. They will come to the pouch and they will be secreted. Okay, so this is how they help in respiration and secretion. Okay, to increase the surface area of plasma membrane and enzymatic content. So that's what the enzymes are, the one that's going to perform the breakdown of the food molecules. So in this case, what's going to happen is that the secretion is going to be present in your mesosomal pouch, which will be secreted when the bacteria is put into a complex environment. Whereas if you put a bacteria into a synthetic media, so in laboratories we use medias, so that media will have the chemicals that is required by the bacteria itself. So at that time they need not have any enzymes produced. Whereas if you put them into a complex media, like I said, no, tomatoes, how do tomatoes rot, you think? So the bacteria will be present, the bacteria will slowly secrete enzymes. That enzyme will break down the structure. So if you have a tomato, that's going to have a good structure. So the rotten tomatoes are going to be plump. I mean, it's going to be kind of plumpy, right? It's going to be kind of rotten. How do you know it's rotten? The structure is going to deform. It's going to have it's going to be kind of how do I say? So it's kind of jelly-like. It's going to deform its structure. So that deformity is because the bacteria has utilized what that needs from that surface. So the tomato shape has changed. Okay, that has rotted the tomato. So for that, they produce certain enzymes, and these enzymes are there in the mesosomes. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, as they are enfolded, they increase the surface area of the plasma membrane. So what does surface area mean? What do you think surface area mean?
Plain surface, ma'am.
Yeah, it's going to be a small one, but there are going to be a lot of functional things there. So that's going to increase the surface area. So since it's enfolded, the surface area of the plasma membrane, actually it's getting increased. Okay. That's it about mesosome. So I will just conclude with the chromat. So we have time. We have 10 more minutes. Okay. So mesosome, and we saw about mesosomes. Next one is chromatophores. So this is an important term here. So chromato itself means something related to color. So if so it's not the mesosome. Okay, if there are color pigments inside the bacteria, they are called as chromatophores. It's not going to be present in the mesosome. Don't get confused. Mesosome is different. Now chromatophore is different. They're going to be, I'll just show you a structure. So so you can see the slime layer here. Can you see the slime layer, the jelly like layer? So this layer, so see here, slime coat. It also has a capsule here. It also has a capsule. It also has a slime. That's both the layers here. Okay. So can you see these? I'll just show you. So there are, what is a cyanobacteria?
Blue-green algae.
Okay. How, what mode of nutrition they follow?
Autotrophic, ma'am.
Very good. Say they are autotrophic bacteria that synthesize their own food. So for synthesizing their own food, they need this pigment called chlorophyll. So where is chlorophyll present in case of plant cells?
Ma'am, chloroplast.
Okay. Do bacteria have the chloroplast now? If it would have had it, it would have been a eukaryotic one. That is a membrane-bound structure, right? Chloroplasts are membrane-bound structures. So these cyanobacteria will not have the chloroplast in them, whereas they'll have some regions in the inside the cell. With yes, Kavishri.
Chromospora.
Yeah, it's called as a chromatophore, which will have the chlorophyll pigments. They're called as bacteriochlorophylls. So in some form of photosynthetic bacteria, a chromatophore is a colored membrane associated vesicle. So it is some vesicle like structure. So this mesosome includes, we saw vesicle, tubules and lamellae, right? So one kind of vesicle is going to be your it's not attached. I just want to tell you, it's not attached like this. It's not attached like the mesosome here, whereas this vesicle can be found inside. Okay, that's what I just told you. It's not the mesosome, that's it. Okay, so they are chromatophores. These are pigment containing membranous enfoldings in some prokaryotes. So you can see structures here. So this is they've called it as a thylakoid structure, which has the bacteriochlorophyll in them. So don't worry much about the structure. I just want to tell you that these are enfoldings where the pigments are present. They contain different colored pigments. So not only cyanobacteria, there are other bacteria like purple sulfur bacteria. There are other autotrophic bacteria. So in that case, they need some pigments. So those pigments are present in case of the enfoldings of the plasma membrane, and they are called as chromatophores. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Here, in case of cyanobacteria, the chromatophore contains bacterial chlorophyll pigments and carotenoids. So bacterial chlorophyll pigments are responsible for performing the photosynthesis in cyanobacteria. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
So we have seen two different structures or two different organelles of the prokaryotic cell. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So the class is still 1, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So did we see about the questions, these questions in the last class?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll see a few more things. So let us revise. So who proposed the cell theory from the following?
Swan and B, ma'am. Option B.
Schwann and Sheldon. Okay. Which is the smallest cell here?
Mycoplasma.
Ma'am.
Mycoplasma. So what is mycoplasma devoid of? What does the mycoplasma doesn't have?
Ma'am, cell wall. ma'am.
Very good. It does not have the cell wall.
Cell wall.
Choose the correct statement with respect to unicellular organisms.
Ma'am, option 3, C.
In unicellular organisms, tissue work in coordination to perform different functions. First of all, unicellular organisms do not actually form these organizations. So they do not combine to form tissues at all, right? So that
Yes,
option
sir.
is wrong. So first of all, we should neglect the ones that are not related to this statement. So unicellular organisms do not require food. We cannot say that. Unicellular organisms respire and reproduce. Yes, they do. All unicellular organisms move by cilia. So actually, unicellular organisms do require food. They need food. So that option 2 is also wrong. So food not in the form of burgers or pizzas. It needs food in the form of glucose are the ones that it can absorb, right? So unicellular organisms respire and reproduce. Yes, it does. So how do unicellular organisms move? They move through flagella that we'll be seeing in the next class. So what's the full form of PPLO?
Ma'am, pleuro.
Ma'am, pleuro pneumonia-like organism.
Very good.
B.
Option B. Okay. Which of these shape is not a shape of a bacteria?
Triangular.
Triangular. So Vibrio is the comma shape, spirillum is this shape, and cocci is this shape. Okay. So have you all received your worksheets for the last week?
Yes, ma'am, I have submitted.
You have submitted. Okay, I haven't checked, but
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have sent it.
okay. Yeah, I guess I just saw. So, but from the next time onwards, I would like all of you to mention. So if you are choosing one option as right Okay, so you should mention the answer is D and you should explain it. You should give the reason for that. That will be the correct, that will be the right thing. So I will also be able to understand that you understood the concept. If you say triangular, you must say that Vibrio is a comma-shaped bacteria, Spirillum is a spring-shaped bacteria, Cocci is the spherical bacteria, whereas triangular form do not exist. Okay? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So which of these bacteria lack cell wall?
Mycoplasma.
Mycobacterium.
What is the, okay, we haven't seen this. Okay, so can you match this one? We have completed this now.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, glycocalyx slime or capsule.
B, okay.
Mesosome cell wall formation.
Okay.
Chromatospores pigments.
Okay. So inclusion bodies we haven't completed, so that will be obviously A. So the option will be B, C, D, and A. B, C, D, and A, and the option will be A. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So all cells contain without with respect to prokaryotic, eukaryotic, unicellular, multicellular, whatever it might be.
Ma'am, cytoplasm and ribosomes.
Very good. So we haven't seen about it, but still the cytoplasm and ribosome. So we saw in the picture, right? Bacteria did have ribosomes. So
Yes, ma'am.
that's the answer. So which one is true for mesosome here?
Ma'am, B.
Now first read all the options.
These are extinct. Ma'am, A.
Only A? Why not
Ma'am,
B?
correct, ma'am.
All are correct, right? So they are extension in form of vesicles, tubules, and lamellae. This is right. And they help in, so we saw the functions of mesosomes, right? They help in cell formation, DNA replication, and distribution of
Daughter.
Daughter
yeah.
cells.
They help in respiration. I told you they help in getting the glucose and oxygen that's needed. They help
Yes,
in
ma'am.
secretion also. They increase the surface area of plasma membrane and enzymatic content. All of the options are right in case
Correct.
of mesosomes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, we haven't completed about these organisms. So in the next class, we'll be discussing about the other structures. Okay, we'll be discussing about its nucleoid, flagella, spillae, and fimbriae, and I have a short video about it, and we'll discuss about the ribosomes, inclusion bodies, and plasmids. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
okay. Thank you and bye all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.